And welcome back. In 2017, the Montgomery County Council passed a resolution declaring a climate emergency. And the new county executive, when he entered in 2018, his team recommended electrifying everything and exclusively use solar and wind. Well, it's taken a little bit of time, but now, this week, the county council voted to allow the development of solar farms to be built in the agricultural reserve. But this decision wasn't without controversy, since the plan that was passed was scaled back significantly and severely restricts where solar development may occur and the vetting of companies before being allowed to operate. It was kind of a half a loaf here. Cynthia, the original proposal by council members Tom Hucker and Hans Reimer came under attack by farmers and land preservationists, and ultimately a watered-down version was approved. But isn't it significant, considering the fact that Tom Hucker voted against the amendment, and Shaberton Energy, a major solar farm operator, announced that the new plan made it unviable as a business operation and canceled all of their proposed projects? So what do we really get out of this?
Well, the amendments that were attached to the original bill were basically poison pill. And in 2 years, the county council will revisit this to see what's happened in the intervening years. And my prediction is that zip will have happened. There will be no added solar farms. The original bill, to put it in perspective, we have over 100,000 acres in the Ag Reserve, and this proposal was for allowing up to 1,800 of them to have solar farms. So we're talking about less than 2% of the Ag Reserve. Secondarily, it would have provided electricity to the equivalent of 50,000 homes. So what I find a little ironic here, as the environmentalist farmer's daughter from Iowa, is that land preservationists were worried about solar farms in bucolic settings, etc., while defending and helping commodity farmers who put herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides into the environment in the interest of farming. You know, I just find it ironic that preservationists don't recognize commodity farming and its impacts on the land, our bucolic ag reserve, so-called bucolic ag reserve, and the environmental good that this could have brought in bringing solar power and electricity to up to 50,000, the equivalent of 50,000 homes. So
what's your view on this?
Well, I think this is an example of sort of NIMBYism. So if we're recognizing that climate change is a crisis, which you mentioned the council has done before, then you need to be prepared to take steps to be able to use renewables. And this is a recurring phenomenon that we've had with siting, where less carbon intensive energy installations have been blocked, delaying the transition. Now that includes, de-emphasizing coal by using natural gas, but it also includes using renewables such as both wind. There've been problems like this in solar as well, or getting the grid expanded so you can bring in some of these resources. If this is a real environmental crisis, then folks have got to be willing to compromise and accept some of the changes that are being proposed in order to address that. Or else you frankly have a lack of credibility if you simply continue doing the same old thing as you've done before.
Well,
what Mark said.
Decisions. I mean, it's easy to pontificate and say we should change everything to solar and wind, but the actual conversion process, is far more difficult when you look at what has to be changed and amended here.
Could I say the good news? The good news is that U.S. has made a lot of progress towards reducing its carbon emissions, and it has been part of this transition that's taken place for moving to fuels that are less carbon intensive. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, but that's one of the things I'm going to talk about next week, which is the county just put an order in for 240 some electric vehicles for school buses. But the fact, and to replace the dirty diesel engines in the existing fleet. Well, the fact is it takes 9 years for an electric car to be greener than a diesel car on average because of all of the components necessary that goes into the battery system, the cobalt, the lithium, and the terrible things that they do, particularly on disposal. And so these are not simple decisions, and the decision to go electric doesn't mean you're being green. It may just mean you're shifting one carbon footprint for another. And we're going to talk about that on next week's show.
More people live in Montgomery County than in Wyoming, Vermont, North Dakota, and even DC. We are a big county with a lot of stories. Subscribe to our channel and don't miss any of the important news happening in our community.